finished the questionnaire?
I got.
Now, I want you to just post your answer on the chat area. All right? Just post your answer on the chat area once you have finished your quiz. Let everyone see it. Okay, I think I heard Greatness speaking earlier.
Don't worry, I'll fix it. I'll fix it. I got disconnected, but now I've switched network provider.
Right. Okay.
So I'm working on mine right away.
Okay.
Please, can someone help me resend the link to the chat box? Thank you.
I can do that right away.
Thank you, sir.
So has anyone finished? Chioma, thank you. So what was the outcome of your quiz? Meg says she has finished. Chioma, can you tell us your money personality? Amasa is, Chioma is an Amasa. Okay. Avoider. Onyeka is an avoider. All right. Interesting. Meg, how about you? Meg is an amasa. You would like to amass money. That's what it means. Okay. Who else has finished? We seem to have, okay, let me hold on there. It's a very interesting questionnaire, by the way. I'm sure you saw quite a bit of things as you were responding to the questions. Who else? Who else? Who else? Please post your answers very quickly. Very quickly. Okay, more responses are coming in. Jump to navigation. All right. Okay, so Chioma, you can, when you finish the questionnaire, you will see your outcome. It's just one word. I know that you were posting all the other ones, but you see whether you're an avoider or like Temitope is a spender. All right. So Temitope is the kind of person that if she's married, for example, and I don't know if Temitope is married, by the way. If her husband gives her money, to shop for the month, she's very, very likely
She has
to,
responded.
if they are, okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, she's very likely to be the type of person who will not go shopping with a list, all right? And when the money has finished, they'll be like, okay, what did I buy? Am I close to what happens to you? If not with your husband, if you are not married, then perhaps maybe with your parents. Very apt. Okay.
Very apt that she's married.
Very apt. Okay, so if your husband is an avoider, you both are likely going to be quarreling a lot when it comes to money. All right. It's important to know your behavior when it comes to money and deal with it. All right. So any other, Saloma, thank you for what you said. You said you're an amasa. All right. Any other person at all? Is there any other person? Ayola says, I know you said you are a master. Okay, interesting response. Just one more response, then we'll move on. One more person, please respond. I'm going to call out your names. Shobande, have you taken the test? Blessing, thank you. You are an amasa. Okay, Shobande, have you taken the test or the quiz? Damilare, are you with us? Onyeka, what's the outcome of your quiz? Ngozi, are you with us? All right. Just one more feedback, then we'll move on, okay? One more feedback. Who wants to help us move on? Very quickly. Very quickly. Who wants to help us move on? Thank you. Joel sent his own privately. We seem to have more amasas than voiders. Okay, Choma, Amasa. We seem to have more. Okay, I think there's a general belief that Nigerians like to gather and amass money. All right. Whatever the case is, okay. Salome says, thank you so much, sir, for the link. I've never really taken this kind of quiz before. Only quizzes on temperament. All right. Yeah, I know for some of us it will be an eye-opener, but there's a goal behind this quiz. It is to help you know your behavior when it comes to money. Everyone has a behavior when it comes to money, all right? Two things always shape us in our lives. The first is nature. The second is nurture. Your nature is how you are wired naturally. It's the same thing when it has to do with your temperament. You know, I don't want to go into the details of temperament. As a certified leadership trainer and coach, one of the first things they teach you is DISC. DISC is an acronym for, you know, driver, influencer, you know, socializer, and, you know, compliance. You know, so it basically talks about the different types of temperament. Some of us know it mainly as choleric, phlegmatic, sanguine, and melancholy. So that has to do with nature. The other one is nurture. Nurture is mainly how we are nurtured through life. If someone, for example, who is typically a quiet person, stays in a noisy environment consistently, that environment is very likely going to shape that person. If you take a fish outside of water, it's not going to be able to swim, even though its natural tendency is to swim. It has the potential to swim. It has fins When you take it out of its natural habitat, it will not be able to swim. Environment is more important than your potential. And that is critical for us to note. So when it comes to money, for example, the kind of environment you are exposed to, the kind of environment you grew up in. If you grew up in an environment where every time, everyone around you, your parents were consistently spending and they were consistently broke, the tendency for you to go through that same cycle is very, very high. All right. And that is what environment does. If you grew up in an environment where your parents were consistently planning and saving and investing, you are more likely to succeed even when it comes to your personal finance. All right. So I will quickly just move on to the other slides that we'll be talking about today. Very quickly, I've tried my best to simplify today's session. With the brevity of time that I have, I would really appreciate that we please give all the necessary attention in today's session so that we can make the most of it. I personally have a principle that I live by. I try as much as I can not to waste my time. There's a book I read a few years ago. The title of that book is called Think Like a Billionaire, Become a Billionaire by Scott Anderson. All right. And I will encourage anyone who probably wants to, you have a goal to be a billionaire someday, as much as you can, get the book and read it. It was in that book a few years ago, I learned that the greatest asset of billionaires is their time, not their money. It's their time and not their money. And that was a huge lesson for me. Why did I say that? Because you are here now, you could have been sleeping, you could have been eating, but you have decided to invest in your time. All right. I take classes on time and life management, and I've had to learn it the hard way that, the bad news is that time flies, but the good news is that you are the pilot. So whatever time that you're investing, ensure that you have your returns on investment. Very clearly and very simply, the roadmap for today's session is I've broken it down in a way that helps us to define that we are on a roadmap. We are on a path. The first is, what do I have? The second is, where am I going? The third is, how do I get there? Then we'll conclude today's session. The first, again, is what do I have? What do I have is primarily talking about what do you have in terms of your finances. Okay, perhaps you were like me, or you have been like me, you did not use some opportunities wisely. You even lost some resources. Perhaps even you are amongst those who lost, a lot of resources in the last few weeks as a result of looting. All right. The truth is that because you are still alive, you have the chance to build back from where you left off, or from where you are. You have the opportunity to build back. I learned something a few years ago, and as we progress, I'm going to be talking a lot about principles, and I'll talk about, some of the nuggets I've learned from mentors and people who are ahead of me when it comes to finance. And I will encourage you to please talk quickly on the other two aspects. But before I go on, I just want to emphasize something about principles. Okay, and there was a training I attended over maybe 12 or 13 years ago. I learned someone who was talking about how every time he reads a book, he always looks out for the principles in the book. All right. And the reason he said that was because he realized, having gone through his life journey, that experiences that people go through are always peculiar, but principles are universal. Principles are universal. 1 + 1 in Ikeja is 1 + 1 in Los Angeles. It is a principle. There's the principle of gravity. Principles are like laws. If you jump up, you will fall down. anywhere around this earth, as long as you're on the earth, the principle of gravity holds, strong. There's the principle or law of, flotation. If you put a hollow in water, it will float. All right. For example, if you look at how heavy planes fly, all right, you wonder, how are they able to lift off? It's a law that was discovered a number of years ago by some people called the Wright brothers. All right. And what was the law that they discovered? The law of aerodynamics. And that has to do with when speed gets to a certain point, it overtakes the power or principle of gravity. All right. So when it comes to money and finance, it is not an art, it is a science. The moment we understand that it is a science, you can be certain that you are on your way to rebuilding your wealth. Can I repeat that, please? And if you are following, please just type in the chat box, say, yes, I am following, or just say, yes, yes, yes. All right? I'm going to repeat that for the basis of emphasis. When it comes to money or rebuilding your finances, it is not an art, it is a science. And a science is governed, science are governed by laws. They are governed by principles. Thank you for everyone who is participating. So essentially, if you do the science, regardless of regardless of your religious background, regardless of your gender, you will always get the same results. All right, regardless of your religion, if you sow a seed of corn in no respecter of persons, he has no respect for your religion or your gender. The principles that govern sowing and reaping are at work. The forces of nature will kick in the moment the seed hits the ground. It's the same thing with money. Are we together this evening? All right, thank you. I see that more people are following. All right, so essentially, I was talking earlier about what do I have, and what do I have stems from, what do you have currently in terms of your income, in terms of your finance. All right, it's very critical. The second one is, where am I going? That has to do with a plan. Where am I going? That has to do with a plan. All right, if you fail to plan, you have planned to fail. Okay. And money, when it comes to money, is not a fluke. If I'm sure some of us would have heard about statistics that say that people who usually win lotteries, they end up becoming broke within a space of sometimes it's 1 year, depending on how much they earned. So you see that more money doesn't make you rich, essentially. So what makes you rich is what we'll also talk about today. The third one is, how do I get there? How do I get there? What are the tenets that we must imbibe to ensure that we arrive at the desired outcome? Okay, then we'll conclude today's session. All right, so let's very quickly move on. Oh, okay. Just pardon me, please.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So, thank you. So the outcomes for today, I've just talked about it: what, where, and how. So we'll talk about what. Very quick statistics. All right. Very quick statistics. This statistics is focused mainly on the United States. I'm a student of history. And by that, I'm not saying that I had history as a degree. I love to read, and I love to read about history. Currently in the world, the American empire is the world power. Over the years that have existed, the first empire was the Egyptian empire. I think we've had a number of empires that have reigned. So each empire that usually reigns is the empire or the world power that determines the language that is predominant in the world. That's why you have the US dollar today as the major means of foreign exchange. Then we have English, although English is because the American nation was colonized by the British Empire. Some of us may not even be aware that before the British Empire, we had, I think, the Roman Empire. For if you are in my generation, you probably know that you were taught Roman numerals in class when you were in primary school. I don't think they do that anymore. You know, so some people don't actually know that English language was not the predominant language many years ago. So each empire that reigned was the empire that actually their language was what was reigning in the entire world. All right, so today we have the US as world power. All right, and I'm just talking a bit about their statistics, you know, when it comes to finances. 58% of Americans have less than $1,000 saved. 50% of American households live paycheck to paycheck. Only 32% of US families maintain a household budget. And only 24% of millennials demonstrate basic financial literacy. That is something to think about. Then lastly, millennial Americans have median emergency savings of just $2,000. That is quite good, you know, when you look at it from an average perspective. All right, you know, when you look at the generations that exist, I think I would probably just talk from my own parents. They are the baby boomers. And I think we have had Generation X, we've had Generation Y, and now we have Generation Z, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so the millennials, I think they're Generation Y and Z, if I'm not mistaken. Essentially, when you look at these stats, you begin to see why there are very few wealthy people around the world. Okay, in fact, a few years ago, I started to do a study on billionaires. I did that for a while, you know, about the top 10 billionaires who are in the world. I think I must have done that for my 4 years. Then I also did a study on multinationals and top corporations around the world for about 5 years. I wanted to know why they were top. One of the things that I discovered was that, for example, those who were billionaires, usually, of course, they said about 2% of the population in the world that own 98% of the wealth. You know, that was then. I don't know what the stats is saying now, but the point I'm trying to make is that when you look at their lifestyle and their habits, you will see that there's a huge variance. While some of us avoid spending, and some of us are, you know, we are avoiders, and some of us are amassers. They don't do either. In fact, there is a common saying amongst billionaires. They say, rather than think of cutting costs, why don't you think of earning more? All right, so that's a word that someone needs to actually think about. I'm not saying that cutting costs is not important, but I'm just also thinking that, you know, the more options you have, the better for you, okay, when it comes to rebuilding your finances. Now, let's quickly go to Nigeria, okay? We're talking about how Nigerians spend. All right, this statistics was done last year, 2019, and it says that households in Nigeria spent about 22.7 trillion naira on food in 1 year. Now, just look at this. I hope you can all see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Yes, perfectly, sir.
Yes. Thank you. You said, so when you look at the stats, you see from where the list there is water. You know, the list there is water. If you are thinking about investing in either in water, you now know, for example, how Nigerians spend money on water. You know, the next one is entertainment. The third one is household goods. I think that has to do with groceries generally, or we can check this out. You can Google it. You'll see the details online. Then, of course, you have clothing and footwear. You have fuel and light. You have rent. Imagine that we spend more money on petrol and light than on clothing and footwear. Interesting. All right. Then, of course, you have rent. You have services and telecoms. So we spend more money on credit than on fuel and entertainment and water. Okay, there's education, then there's health, there's transport, then you have food and beverage. Beverage there is not Milo and Bombita, by the way. I need to say that clearly. Beverage there are drinks, alcoholic drinks, pet drinks, and that tells you or gives you an idea of how we spend in. It's essential. When it comes to our finances, first of all, you need to understand how you spend. Where does your money go? Where does your money go? So the first rule when it comes to rebuilding our finances is determining where we are when it comes to our finances. That is the first rule. Where are you in your journey? How much do you have, for example, in your savings? How much do you earn currently? How much is coming to you on a monthly basis? How many streams of income do you go to Oshodi? The only way you'll be able to get to Oshodi successfully is by determining where you are in the street of Lagos. All right, if you call someone and say, I'm going to Oshodi, the first question they are going to ask you is, where are you? All right, so are you in Mount 12? Are you in Ikoyi? Are you in Lekki? That will now determine how long it's going to take you to get to Oshodi. It will also determine what road network you are going to follow to get to Oshodi. And that's why this roadmap is essential. You need to be able to define where you are when it comes to your finances. I hope we're all following. Just say yes, I am following. Just say yes in the chat room.
Yes,
and say,
I am
following. Thank you. So essentially, this is crucial if we are going to make genuine progress. If we're going to rebuild our finances. So how much have you lost, for example? If you have lost resources, you need to be able to take stock, all right? Don't just conclude, I lost everything when they looted my shop last week. I lost everything. Put it on paper, how much? Quantify it, all right? You will be able to know when you surpass it, all right? And I'll talk a bit more on how to measure when it comes to our resources, okay? So when it comes to, some of these issues as well, what do I currently have? What do I currently have? Which is number one. We're talking about what. We'll talk about where, then we'll talk about how. So the first question here is, what do I currently have or earn? What do I currently have or earn? I apologize. I think for some reason my system is not getting into presentation mode. Sure, I need to probably update something on my laptop. Okay, so the first word there is your salary. How much do you earn? Do you earn 50,000? Do you earn 150,000? Do you earn 500,000? How much do you pay for tax? What is your gross income? How much do you earn, for example, from that business of yours? So you need to be able to, first of all, outline it clearly. In fact, as we go on, you probably be writing figures down on your notes. So write it down. How much is your salary currently? The second point is, when it comes to income, do you run a small business? Or do you have an SME? How much does it generate for you as turnover? All right, I need to ensure that we understand that your turnover is not the same thing as your profit. Many people in Lagos and in Nigeria will not understand the difference. When they run businesses, you know, okay, they've invested 70,000 in a business and they made, you know, 90,000 from that business. And they will tell you that, oh, I made 90,000, 20,000 naira profit. It's a lie. It's not true. You did not make 20. The principle of compound interest, some of us learned it in primary school. Some of us did not pay attention when they were teaching us compound interest in primary school. You know, who knows compound interest? How many of us know the principle of compound interest? Just type it in your chat, in the chat section. The formula for compound interest is what?
I've forgotten.
Okay, so you are reporting yourself. Thank you, Greatness.
I think it's principal times time times rates all over 100.
Who is that?
Temitope.
Temitope, thank you for that. You said principle.
Principal.
Thank you. The principle of compound interest. Somebody here, if that is the only thing you get today, if you understand how it works, you are going to build, you just building wealth. It's principal times rate times time over 100. That is the principle that governs compound interest. And that's how people build wealth while well. All right. Thank you for that. I see your comment saying annuity. Okay, well, I don't want to go into that conversation. It's deeper. Annuity is much deeper. All right. So principal multiplied by a rate all over time. All right. Goodness, thank you. Okay, so then the third one is investments. What kind of investments do you have? Perhaps you're like me when I worked for almost 5 years and I did not have any major investment. You know how stupid I was. You can say that again. All right. So what kind of investments do I have or do you have? Do you have a real estate property? Do you have real estate properties? Do you have stocks? Are you the type of person that is even risk averse? You know, if you are risk averse, I can guarantee you that you will never be able to build wealth, because wealth creation is all about risk taking. And that's the truth. No one, from statistics, no one was able to rebuild their finances and build or create wealth by earning salaries alone. I guarantee you, please, I learned this more than 15 years ago, that everyone who is a multi-millionaire, they are business owners. If you don't own a business, I want to encourage you to please plan to start a business. Register a corporation or register a business name. Sell something that will help you to create wealth. It is critical. It is not necessary. When it comes to life, I always categorize it in three ways: critical, necessary, and nice to have. You know, so I'm talking critical now. Okay, please do something about it. So investment is something we need to actually. I'll talk more on that as we progress. And the last one is: do you own multiple businesses? Wherever you are in this journey, when it comes to what you currently earn or what you currently have, the first key to rebuilding your finances is controlling your outflow. And that's the truth. If you are a finance person, you will discover something. All right. So I had the privilege of working with our former Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, not as a government person, but as a consultant. I think that was years ago when she was Commissioner for Finance, all right, in Ogun State. There was a project we did. That's the project profile that Greatness read out earlier, where we're able to save close to about, I was just trying to be modest. I think in the real figure was about 700 and something million naira per month in savings. Okay, so the standard rule when it comes to, even creating wealth for nations or for society, for someone who comes in the first time, is the number one rule is to plug the leakages. All right, because when it comes to money, it's like you've put money in a basket, and if there are leakages, you have to plug the leakages first. Because you cannot rebuild your finances if, for example, there are areas around your life that are leaking. You see, little leaks can cause a great ship to sink. Please never forget that. I will repeat that. Little leaks can cause a great ship to sink. So it doesn't matter how much you have. If there are leakages, it's just a matter of time. You will crash. You will sink. Okay? Little leaks can cause a great ship to sink. And I talked about Kemi Adeosun because that was the number one thing she did when she became a finance commissioner in Ogun State. She replicated the same rule when it came to, Nigeria. She had to plug a lot of leakages. And before you could say Jack Robinson in Ogun State, when it comes to internally generated revenue, I know that the number one local government in Nigeria that generates the highest is Etiosa, followed by Obiakpo in Rivers State. Then the third was Ogun State. But that only happened when she was commissioner for finance. Okay, so it's important that we understand that this is a general rule. The first key to rebuilding your finance is controlling your outflow. So you need to actually do what you call an audit on your personal finances. If you do an audit, you will see that there are some funny habits that you have, and they are taking money away from you. Some of us have a strong habit for buying things on the road every day that we go out. You will look forward to that plantain chips. You must buy it. You will look forward to that popcorn. I feel like eating popcorn. And before you know what's happening, 100 naira has gone, 100 naira has gone. You will even buy for everybody in the car. By the time you calculate how much you have spent, and from Monday to Friday, you have spent like 2,000 naira on plantain chips. By the time you do your calculation in a month, you would have spent like 10,000 naira on plantain chips when you are not the one that they are doing the plantain chips for. I'm sure some of us, know what I'm talking about. If you are that kind of person, just say, I am that kind of person. Don't worry. We are forgiving you. Today is your day of repentance. All right. So, okay, I can see, I can see some people chatting there or posting something. The whole idea is your financial habits will always determine your financial future. If you are thinking about rebuilding your finance and you have a habit for always buying things that you don't need, yet you earn little, you can be sure that you have not started that journey yet. And when it comes to building finances, time is critical. Time is critical. There's a book that I have. I always try to recommend it to people. The title of that book is What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20. What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20. All right. I think it's even free online. I don't know who the first person was, who was the first person to finish, who was the first person to finish, what do you call it, the quiz. I'm not sure I took stock of the person's name, but I wish I took stock of the person's name so I could send you that book as well additionally. The whole idea behind what I'm saying now is simple. Your financial habits will determine your financial future. All right. Chioma,
Chioma, yes.
Yes, I remember. So Chioma, please, I owe you that book. It was written by a Stanford professor. She's very renowned, and the book is not only about finances, but it's really about business. Okay, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. I have a soft copy of it. So Greatness, I'm owing you a copy of the book, followed by Onyeka. All
I
right.
like Onyeka. Okay, sir, I'll send it to her.
All right, thank you. So that is when it comes to what you currently earn. Okay, I talked about outflow in my previous slide, but now I'm talking about control. Okay, because if your money is leaking, and if there are leakages and you plug those leakages, the next thing you need is a budget. You need a budget, okay, when it comes to rebuilding your finances. You see, some of us don't like to hear this word budget. We feel that it restrains us. Some of us are married, and we also know, you know what I'm talking about. Some of us even have a budget, but we don't stick to it. The truth about it is that some of us have a penchant for comparing ourselves with other people who don't budget and they have money. I can tell you for a fact that if those people you are looking at have money and they don't budget, if they started budgeting, they will have more money. That means that in their lives, there are a lot of leakages, I guarantee you. Because you see, when you don't have a plan, anywhere will be your road. Any road will be your road. That's the truth. Any road will be your road. So, for example, you earn 500,000 per month. Let me not even say 500,000. Let's just say you earn 150,000 per month, and you don't have a budget. You step out tomorrow, somebody comes to meet you that, Choma, please, I need your help. My Lord is begging me, he's telling me now that if I don't pay my house rent, they will chase me out of the house. In fact, they brought police people. And Choma, being so compassionate and so kind, you just collected your salary yesterday, it's 150,000. And the next thing, you say, how much do you need? How much do you need? You say, I need 100,000. You say, no, I can give you 50,000. Your hard-earned income, 50,000 out of 150, and you don't know how the remaining part of the month, you have not entered November, you don't know how it will pan out. You are going to have challenges if you have that kind of habit. Okay, the good book says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. I'm not saying you shouldn't be compassionate. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying that when it comes to your finances, it is important to budget. What's the solution to this kind of issue? Have a budget, for example. Allocate a certain amount of money on a monthly basis as seed. All right. So, for example, if you earn 150,000, you can say 10% is going to be seed, or 5%, which is 7,500. So anybody who comes to you and tells you that, can you lend me money, or can you please give me money? I'm in a dire strait. You know that you have allocated a certain amount of money for giving to people. If you want to do more, fine, but just make sure that you are doing it with a budget, because you have bills to pay. If you live on the island like I do in Lagos, you know that you will not only pay for service charge within your estate. If you have a security guard, you will pay for security within your house. You will pay for, your nanny. If you have a nanny, you will pay for electricity. You will pay for feeding. You will pay for water. These are just bills. So you will pay for DSTV. If you use DSTV, you will pay for, who can help me?
School fees for married people.
Yes, so your in-laws will call you and say, please send us something. Somebody will also remind you that there's a wedding coming up next month. You have to buy a shwebi. So you see, by the time you do your calculations, you see that, you will pay for data. Thank you very much, Tosin.
Thank you, Tosin.
You just realize that you are literally being stifled. The system is designed in such a way that if you don't plan, you are in trouble. I'm telling you, you will buy water, you will buy food, and food has increased. Petrol for generator now petrol has increased. The NSAS movement was, tailoring a lot of things that are critical. So, there's a common saying in marriage: if love is blind, marriage is an eye opener. because marriage will help you to see that, the bills will not smile at you. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. Some of us, you know what I'm talking about. So essentially, budgeting is critical. Okay, it's critical. And you budget when it comes to budgeting. It helps you to plan. It helps you control. Helps you to control your finances. So you talk about how much are you spending on electricity, how much do you spend on water, how much do you spend on feeding. Some of us have a strong habit for buying money data. The telecoms companies, they know you. They even give you extra data when you have collected your salary, 5,000 back. Airtel will just send you reward. It is a lot to send extra credit. You see, that's why you like buying 5,000. And you are earning 150,000 naira, and you are spending 10,000 naira in a month for credit. You have not started. Some years ago, this was more than 10 years ago, I was earning about, I don't want to say the amount, but I remember vividly, my company will give me credit and I will buy extra. The moment the credit finishes, if my mother calls me and I missed her call and I don't have credit to call her back, I won't call her back until the following week before I say, Mommy, I missed your call last week. If you don't have that kind of discipline, you are not ready to build your finances. I hope you are following what I'm sharing this evening. I hope we're together this evening. Please just type yes to be certain that you are with me. Thank you, Anika. Thank you. All right, so some of us, you need to cut down on your expenses currently. There are expenses that you are making that you actually do not need to make. All right, when it comes to your finances, one of the things, especially when it has to do with budgeting, one of the things you must maintain is to separate your needs from your wants. Separate your needs from your wants. Your want is nice to have. Your needs they fall within the necessary and critical. All right. So you see that by the time you are done, your budget is categorized into three. All right. There's critical, and there's necessary, and there's nice to have. So when you're nice to have, okay, so I want to hang out at Mega Chicken for dinner. I want to go to a hotel for dinner with my spouse. Oh, I want to, go to, what's the name of that country? Is it country in Africa? Mauritius, yes, to spend Christmas. Some persons usually, this is the time they start planning for their December Christmas trip. Now they'll be buying tickets because those tickets, they will be selling them at discounted prices or at cheaper prices. The whole idea behind what I'm saying is that whatever it is that you have to do to rebuild your finances, you have to have a budget. A budget is an essential component of your rebuilding your finances. All right. The number two aspect for on my slide is talking about where. The first one that we address is what, and that had to do with our income and how we needed to plug leakages. We needed to take control by putting a budget together. The second one has to do with where. So the second one is addressing where are you going? Where are you going? And this is where, Michael, I see you writing Bahamas. Okay, Choma, you spoke what I was trying to think about, what I was thinking about, Seychelles. Some of us know that place, fantastic place to go to. Maybe one of these days I will get there. All right. So the second point there is where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Before I highlight that, just a few key points I will just talk us through, as nuggets. The first is you cannot manage what you do not measure. When it comes to money, the first thing I talked about, outflow, and I've also talked about budgets. It's important to measure. Another word for measure is to track. Okay. For example, I started budgeting about 18 years ago, or 17 years ago to be precise. And how did I start? Very simple. I started to track my expenses. I started from there. So if I spend money on credit, I will write it down. If I spend money on water, I will write it down. And it was because of my association with one of my very close friends then, who also was practicing it. And he was telling me that, Leo, you see, this is what wealthy people do. They track their expenses. There is no one that I know today that is very wealthy who runs a corporation or a multinational or a major company that the company does not measure their finances. You will have difficulty transferring it to your organization if you don't do it yourself. And that's the truth. So many people have good intentions, but the moment when it comes to their financial habits, they fail there. And what you have is what you will transfer to your company, to your business. So we have to imbibe the right habits when it comes to our finances. You cannot measure, you cannot manage what you do not measure. So it's important to measure. It's important to measure. And that's where that first point that we talked about in terms of what comes to play. Second point here is measurement is necessary for improvement. You cannot improve on what you have known. How will you know that there's an improvement on your finances if you didn't measure what came in last month and what went out last month? So how will you know? Some of us, for example, you don't know how much you earned in 2019. How will you be able to thank God, for example, that 2020 was a better year when it came to your finances? All right. I've been privileged to doing this for years. So every year I'm able to see if there's an increase in my personal finances and which time the increase came in and how the increase come in. If you do that, for example, as a person, you can do it in a business. And when you do it in a business, you are even able to appreciate your clients. And that's what some banks do. That's what some clients do. If you, for example, have certain clients, okay, so thank God for grace. There are some services that I'm privileged to, be part of. Okay, let me be more specific. A few years ago, I remember when my account got into some amount of money, and I realized that my bank that I was banking with allocated a specialized banking officer to me. I started getting newsletters, from the bank. I started getting some added services, and I started wondering, what is all this? I had not gotten that kind of service treatment before. Then I realized that when your money gets to a certain level, you get added services. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's the same thing if you probably use a premium network, or you use a network that's telecoms, and you have a premium account. The kind of services they will give you will be different from what is for the masses. What I'm trying to say essentially is those corporations and companies are able to do that because they measure, and they appreciate those who bring them in income. It's the same thing with our personal finances. Once we measure, we'll be able to know where there is improvement. More money won't make you rich without discipline. I'm going to talk about discipline very quickly, and can we all see what we have in front of us? The screen.
Yes.
It's called tapasya. Tapasya. Tapasya is Indian for self-discipline. Tapasya is Indian for self-discipline. Can we all type self-discipline on the chat just to be certain that you are with me? All right. I'm going to try to round up in another 15 minutes. I hope that that will be fine by us. Thank you for those of us who are following. All right. And I was saying there that more money will not make you rich without discipline. If you lack discipline in your finances, you will lack discipline in every other aspect of your life. The word discipline is from the word training. All right. You see, when you understand the way a human being is wired, particularly when it comes to our habits, you realize that human nature is habitual. And how do we form habits? Just do something consistently for 21 days and it becomes a habit. Okay. You will notice that the moment you try to change that cycle, by the 22nd day, if you don't do it, something will be telling you in your mind that there's something you have not done today that you're supposed to do. And that's how a human being is wired. All right. It's the same thing when it comes to our finances. Like I talked earlier on about some of us needing to cut down on some expenses. I can tell you that it's not going to be easy. But when you see what will drive you to cut down on your expenses, to cut down on those frizzle drinks, to cut down on, some of the things that you don't need now, it's called delayed gratification. If you don't delay that gratification, you will never be able to rebuild your finances. We need to be able to delay gratification. We need to be able to maintain some measure of discipline now so that we can get to our desired outcome. And what is your desired outcome? Maybe when you turn 50, you want to be a billionaire. Or when you turn 40, you want to retire. Some people have those kind of crazy goals. All right, they just want to be sipping, drinks at the Bahamas and those kind of dreams. It's okay for you to dream. Dreaming is very free and cheap, but when it comes to paying the price, it's only those that pay the price that win the prize. And that's how life is. So discipline is a crucial element when it comes to rebuilding our finances. In fact, apart from control, apart from budgeting, apart from all the other elements I've talked about, discipline is I'm wondering whether to place it above all of them. All right. So essentially, more money will never make you rich without discipline. All right. So let's just quickly move on to the next one, which is where am I going to? Where am I going to? Okay, so we're still on this particular number 2. The first, you can see there, I talked about the fact that where am I going to is a plan. And I gave an example of, okay, I want to be a billionaire at 50, I want to retire at 40, whatever the case is. First of all, I want to emphasize here that if you do not have a financial plan, you need to develop one now. It's important, all right, to have a financial plan. You can start very simply. And what's the plan? A plan is a process of a goal. So I would encourage that you first of all have a goal, and the goal could be very simply defined. Write it on your wall, write it in front of your system, make it a screenshot. My goal is that in 10 years' time, I want to have so and so amount of money in my bank account. I want to have 10 businesses that generate this amount of money. That is one of the things that will help you to rebuild your personal finances. All right. Have a simple goal. Then that plan is now how you will get there. It's the process of a goal. Okay. And you can see on the screen or in front of us here some key elements that surround the financial planning. And the first there is your income. You have to go to track how much you currently earn and ask yourself how much you want to earn before the end of 2020 or before the end of 2021. The next one is to start saving. I will talk more on savings as we go on. The third one is investment. Please, I want to say this, that when it comes to savings, you do not have an option. All right, you do not have an option. The third one is investments. The fourth one is insurance. Insurance is what the rich use against the poor. Poor people do not use insurance. Insurance has a way of saving you a lot of heartache in the long term. All right, look at the looting that happened in the last few weeks. I guarantee you that those who had, shops, who were on the roads and they were turning over as much as 1 million a month, 10 million a month, and they did not have insurance. Unlike the other shops, like a Spa or a ShopRite, where they had insured everything, they will get their money back. They didn't lose anything, literally speaking. I don't know if I'm making sense. So insurance is not an option when it comes to rebuilding your finances. It will save you in the long term. All right. Then, of course, you have mortgage. Some of us don't like to hear that word mortgage. All right. It's not a common word in our climate. But of course, you know that when you read about finances, it's something that you cannot ignore because there's a lot of money in mortgaging and in real estate as well. Then, of course, you have retirement. Plan for your retirement. All right. Such that, you don't find yourself in a situation where after you have rebuilt your finances and, because you did not have a will, everything you have worked for your entire lifetime just goes into the hands of someone that you did not plan for in the first place. So some of us don't like to hear about writing a will. All right, writing a will does not mean you are going to die next week. It doesn't also mean that you have faith in your death. You are going to die one day either. Well, life is a transition. That's the truth. We're only passing by on the earth. So the whole idea behind having a financial plan is so that you are able to secure your lifetime. Isn't it amazing that this word called life is called lifetime? Okay, so it's time that we all have. 24 hours, 1,440 minutes in a day, and the list goes on. The same time Dangote has is the same time you have. All right. I was reading some months ago, precisely maybe around June, that Dangote's wealth had dropped to about $11 billion, from $23 billion as it was, I think, about 4 years ago or thereabouts. I think the money has further depreciated. And the reason for that is because of the devaluation of the Naira and our exchange rate. And that's why I was talking about how important it is for us to understand world powers, because world powers, their monies will determine whether you are really rich or you are really poor. Okay? So let's quickly go on. I'll touch on this as we proceed, even in the third one. The third one is, how am I going to get there? All right, the third one is, how am I going to get there? They're just tips that will help us, and they're really an expansion of where am I going? Okay, so the first one is spend less than you earn. Spend less than you earn. Clearly outline and analyze your financial habits. You see, when it comes to our habits, I've mentioned it, your financial habits will determine your financial future. It is very critical, okay? If you have a habit of spending less than you earn, for example, if you have a habit of, how do I put it now? Consistently saving, you will be able to address this issue. Okay, so but a budget can help you to address this issue, where you are able to spend less than you earn. Okay, the second point here is to build financial literacy. These are key components, all right, when it comes to rebuilding your finances. You need to build financial literacy. This is not an option. In fact, your financial knowledge will determine your financial future as well. The more you know about money, the more you are able to make money. That's the truth. Okay, so money is what you call an amora. All right, so it only degenerates or increases when depending on the person who is handling it. All right, and just like I said earlier, the art of, when it comes to rebuilding finances or building wealth, it is a science and not an art. Okay, so the key components here when it comes to financial literacy, by that I'm saying the areas we need to learn about is how to earn, how to save, how to spend, and how to invest. How to earn, save, spend, and invest. For example, when it comes to saving, don't save your money in a savings account. I don't know if I just made sense. Don't save your money in a savings account. There's literally no interest rate there. There are many places you can put your money and save, and it generates interest. And that is what is called compound interest. All right? Please, and please, someone needs to hear that. So financial literacy is very crucial. My first degree was in philosophy. All right, I'm good. I've started a second degree. I'm doing, in fact, 2 degrees this year again. I've done a number of executive courses. I've been to a number of programs, LBS, different schools, abroad as well. The truth is that you can't stop learning if you want to lead. You cannot stop learning. When it comes to learning, if you get tired of learning, you are likely going to start to rotting. That's the truth. In fact, I read about McDonald's a few years ago. The company, some of us know McDonald's as a brand. You know, for some reason, they are not in Nigeria. I don't want to talk about that. You know, so there was this guy that bought the company called Ray Kroc. He bought it from the McDonald's brothers. And he made a statement I will never forget. He said that as long as you are green, you will keep growing. The moment you become ripe, you will start to rotten. Please never forget that. The moment you will become ripe, you will start to rotten. Some of us have stopped growing when it comes to even finances. We stop growing when it comes to basic knowledge. We don't read. You know, when people engage us, they are like, why do you think like that? How did you interpret this thing like this? You know, so knowledge has a way of lightening your reasoning. You know, there's something I call DMP, your decision-making process. When you alter your DMP, you will alter the quality of your life. And that's the truth. All right. If you are tired of your current state, you need to alter your decision-making process. And the only way to alter it is by increasing your knowledge base. All right. And increasing your knowledge base with the right knowledge. Financial literacy is critical. Number 3, build a culture of savings. I can't overemphasize this. Save from every income before you spend. Oh, I don't know. Is there a microphone in Zoom? Greatness that I can use? All right. I need to say that loud. This one is SOL, not laugh out loud. Save from every income before spending. For every income you receive, you know, money is funny when you think about it. You know, some of us, you know what I'm about to talk about. When certain amount of money hits your account, there's a funny feeling that you just notice that you have. Unusually, you just become happy. Money has come. You know, you just notice that there's a feeling that you have, and there's a funny kind of confidence that you have that I have money. And somehow, before you know what's happening, if you are not somebody who you're not somebody who is disciplined, that confidence will put you in trouble, if you know what I mean. You know, so there's something called it's a principle when it comes to money called if I remember it, I'll say it, but let me describe what the principle does. It says that every time you receive money, your expenses will always rise up to meet your income. Who knows that principle? If you know it, please just put it on the chat box. All right. Your expenses will always rise up to meet your income. If I remember it, I'll say it. But my wife and I guard against that law. We guard against it consistently. And some of us, every time your income increases, you just notice that your spending increases. Okay. You need to do something about that very quickly. All right. Build a culture of savings. It's not a choice. It's not an option. It is a must. The 4th one is don't just save, invest wisely. Spread your money across many baskets. Spread your money across many baskets. Invest wisely. Some of us are already very good at saving, but the only challenge is that after you have finished saving for 6 months and 1 year, you just realize that, you know, something just comes up and you use the same money you have spent a lot of time saving to buy stuff, not invest. You use it to buy furniture, use it to buy, you know, a television set. You say, I think I should just change my fridge. You just change your fridge. You are not being wise when you do that kind of when you make that kind of decision. You see, people who trade with funds, they call them fund managers. If you notice, that's how banks make their money. That's how, you know, many of these financial institutions make money. They understand the principle that governs turning around income. All right, so they take your money, invest it in a, in something, a portfolio. They generate return and they give you back your principal. All right, so why don't you learn what they know so that you can invest more? You can invest with your savings. So the whole idea behind your savings must be channeled towards a goal. It must be channeled towards investing. If it is not going to lead you to investing, then you are not saving wisely. I hope we're all together. Please just say yes, that I'm following.
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm following.
All right. So we're almost wrapping up. Never arrive. Yes, thank you. Never arrive when it comes to money. Oh gosh. I like to engage Generation Z a lot. I have a teenage daughter, so we talk a lot. Sometimes we quarrel. You know what I mean if you are married and you have a teenager as your child, all right? The truth is that when it comes to this generation, they place a lot of premium on symbols and status above substance, all right? So I can tell you for a fact that some of those guys that hawk on the roads, that hawk plantain chips, and some of them that hawk, there are some of them that own more assets than some of those who are driving cars on the roads. I can tell you for a fact. All right.
Yes.
So and the challenge that I'm trying to address is some of us need to reorder our priorities, all right, to build substance. You see, when you place premium on symbols and status, in a sense, I call it the bubble generation. So, there's a lot of air, but there's no weight. Do you get what I'm saying? So you see people driving flashy vehicles, but when you engage them deeply, you see that they don't have any investments, they don't have any asset base. They like the larger life, they like the honor and the respect, but there is no substance. Please don't be like that. At the end of the day, you are deceiving yourself. That's the truth. You are deceiving yourself because the time is coming, the bubble will burst, and everybody will now realize that he was using a Range Rover. How come he can't afford to now take care of himself when this issue has come up? So, and there are people like that. Okay, so never arrive when it comes to money. The greatest barrier to tomorrow's success is today's own. All right, make it a habit in your mind somewhere that you are going to remain green when it comes to your personal finances. Pardon me, please. All right.
Sorry.
So we're almost done. Thank you. I'm trying
just
to
interrupt you, Pio.
Yes.
IKOF has responded to the principle, the name of the principle, Parkinson's law.
Yes, thank you. Parkinson's law. Yes. IK, thank you so much. You are spot on. Yes, Parkinson's law. You are very spot on. I learned that like some 12 years ago or thereabouts, and it's something we need to guard against. All right. When you have a windfall, it's always better that you just put it in, an investment. Don't assume that God has blessed me. A windfall. I wasn't expecting the money, and the money just came, and it's now time to buy that 65-inch television that you have been eyeing for 1 year. No, that's not a wise investment. Money is a seed. When you understand it, that money is a seed, you know that it is inside that seed, your fruit is there and your seed is there. Your fruit is for eating and your seed is for resowing. Okay? I hope you can all hear me. When you understand it, when you understand that money is a seed, it will change your disposition towards it. Okay? So essentially, that is crucial. Never spend your money before you earn it. Oh, okay. Yes, I've not talked about this. Never spend your money before you earn it. Some of us are very guilty of this. In fact, the salary you just collected has finished before you collected it because you are already in debt. you know. So, and that tells a lot about the lifestyle that you live. Perhaps you don't even have a flamboyant lifestyle. The truth is, you need to address this issue critically. Yeah, there are times that sometimes we find ourselves in positions where we have to borrow, you know, maybe because of an emergency that has come up and you know that there are no other options. But it should not be a consistent lifestyle. It shouldn't be a lifestyle because some people literally spend more than they earn, you know, and they even spend money before they earn it. You know, I learned this principle from Aliko Dangote. You know, some of us, we really want to build money, build wealth, and, you know, but we're not reading when it comes to building wealth. For example, I talked about Dangote. I have his biography. I have watched many videos. I downloaded many videos about him. You know, more than I think close to 10 interviews where he lectured at LBS, when he was interviewed by Forbes, because I wanted to get to know how he thinks. Then one day I met him a few years ago because his company became a client of the company I used to work in. I literally, you know, was the one who brought his company into our own company. So it was my account. So I had to consistently go to his office and talk to his PA. Then one day I eventually met him. And, you know, when I met him, I was like, so this is the richest man in Africa. So simple, no police escort. I don't know whether he's using police escort now, but I'm just talking about then, all right? So, but the whole idea behind what I'm sharing is very simple. He made the statement I'm sharing with us now. Never spend your money before you earn it. And that's where delayed gratification comes in. Some of us have a habit of, don't worry, at the end of the month, I will collect my salary and I'll pay you. And you know, you are literally shortchanging yourself in the long term. All right. So there's something called OPM. OPM means other people's money. And everyone who is wealthy today, they built their wealth using OPM. All right. Facebook is where it is today, for example. The moment he got into the stock exchange, his company skyrocketed. At that level, many of those companies or corporations, there's something they do, which is called, they always build something called a war chest, because they know that when they have a lot of money that are richer or bigger or more than some nations, they know that there is a fight between power and money. And in many instances, if you're a student of history, you will come to realize that when money was fighting against power, power always won. All right, the people in government just need to come up with one policy and your wealth will just come crashing. Okay, so it's important for us to understand what OPM is. Essentially, the principle here simply says avoid debt except where you want to invest, except if you have to invest. All right, except when you have to invest. All right, so the last one here is stick to your financial plan. Review your plan from time to time with experts. All right. This is one principle that you cannot neglect. You may not be able to afford a fund manager now, but just have it in your plan that maybe in 3 years' time, in 5 years' time, or in 1 year's time, I want to have a financial advisor, someone who will advise you consistently, personally, you know, when it comes to managing your resources. But you must be able to have enough resources that can actually pay that person, and the person will be able to manage your resources. Are we together? There is a way you can grow your wealth. Sir. Like the day I met with Dangote, you know, when I bumped into him, the MD of one of the dominant banks in Nigeria was with him. You know, so later on I heard that the bank actually, he doesn't go to the bank. His company doesn't go to the bank. The bank actually have an office in his office, if you know what I mean. So there's a way you can grow your wealth that the banks will come to you. You won't go to them anymore because they are looking for your money. All right. So essentially, my point is stick to your financial plan. Review your plan from time to time. So Dangote, for example, has financial advisors, and they advise him on how to use his resources. You know, when you get to that point where nations are calling you on phone, you say, okay, what business idea do you have now? we have 800 million, dollars, that we can give you to invest, because they know that you have good credit. When they give you money, they know that they will make money from you. Like I remember when Dangote was doing the refinery, and this is to the best of my knowledge, I'm aware that the Chinese government, gave him money. As against when he was building the Dangote cement, factory, he had to gather about 6 or 7 banks. They all had to gather money to assist him. In fact, if you know him very well, you will know that, he said that is where he grew the most of his gray hair. Okay. But when he was going to do the oil refinery, he didn't have to do that. It was the government that gave him money. One government gave him a lot of money. So essentially my point is that stick to your plan. You don't have to be like Dangote. It took him about 35 years to become a billionaire. Okay, your journey can be shorter. Facebook, I think it took him less than 10 years to become a billionaire. That's Mark Zuckerberg. All right. So I can talk about, some of these things as we go on. Essentially, I don't know if anybody has any ideas in this regard, who can give us more. If you have any other idea as to what we think you can do to ensure that, you are able to achieve your financial goal in the long term, which is the how. All right. Okay, so the conclusion of my session today is everyone leaves this world one day. The earlier you start acting on your financial plan, the more successful you will become. All right. I have a financial plan. I remember I had to read a small book on investment some time ago, and that enabled me to come up with a financial plan myself. It's important that we study about treasury bills, about bonds. How do they work? All right. About, some of us are familiar with cryptocurrency and Bitcoins. I can't tell you for a fact that they have their benefits, but they also have their consequences. All right. They are what you call safe investment portfolios. All right. That the risk is not as high as when you are investing, for example, in trading, online trading. That is high risk investment. All right. So whatever the case is, it's important to just build your desire to know about these things. These are the things that the people who are doing it, they don't have 2 heads. They are like you and I. Okay. Some of us need to stop running up and down. Oh, I want to sell this today. I want to sell clothes tomorrow. Trade is the minimum level. Investment is the higher level. All right. Now, I'm not saying you should stop trading, but the point I'm trying to make is that you need to invest. And at the end of the day, in fact, there's a higher level that is higher than investment, which is manufacturing and production. When it comes to the global level, nations are what they are today because they export more than they produce. They export more than they consume. Forgive me. It's a standard rule. If you consume more than you produce, you will always be broke. All right. If you consume more than you produce, you will always be broke. So some of us actually need to check our production level. All right. So the whole idea when it comes to, rebuilding our finances, we should tailor our path this way. The future begins today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you please do me a favor, just let me know that you are still with me, and but you can wave, yes, I am still with you, sir. Yes. Greatness, I'm going to yield the floor to you, but before I do, I just want to touch a bit. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your feedback. All right. Thank you for your feedback. These are my contacts. As you can see on the screen, I can be reached on social media.
Can you continue?
All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. Okay, Onyeka, thank you for your comment. Salome, Michael, thank you, everyone. Thank you. That's really crucial. Okay,
Your
so
Instagram handle is not here.
Yeah, my Instagram handle, I think, is the same thing with my Twitter handle.
Okay.
Although I think it should be Leonard Senior.
It's Leonard.
Leonard Senior. All right. Senior, yes.
Yeah.
Leonard Senior.
Okay.
So you can follow me online, yes, to get more. So I think just to wrap this all up, Ngozi, thank you as well. To wrap this all up, I just want to talk a bit. So we're talking action steps now. You know,
this one, I'm not ready to. Please go ahead, right, sir. We need this one. This is very, very important. Even me, I need.
All right. Thank you, IK. Some action steps now, you know, so we are able to start practicing. So if you don't even have any money to invest, you can plan to invest using some of these platforms. Now, these are just a few platforms that exist in Nigeria. All right. I do not have any affiliation to any of them, and that's the honest truth. Ideally, startup protocol is you don't promote brands that don't give you anything, all right, at a certain level. So, but I believe strongly that, you know, if something is beneficial to you in some way, why don't you tell others about it? So there are people that some of us even know that already have, you know, investment in some of those platforms. And perhaps you are even here and you even have an investment in one or two of these platforms. You can even indicate on the chat section, yes, and just let us know, okay, okay, PiggyVest, okay, IK, you have investment in PiggyVest. You know, PiggyVest is a good saving platform. I want to clearly say, okay, Joel says no, okay, maybe you have had your fingers burnt. I want to clearly say that I'm not saying you should go and invest highly, all right? There's something I learned from Warren Buffett a few years ago. He said, before you invest, always test the waters, all right? And you never test the waters with both legs in. You test it with one leg, all right? Before you invest, always test the water. So if you perhaps want to try any of these ones, you can do your research. He also made that statement, before you invest, research, all right? Do research. Like, for example, Bamboo is an investment app, and, you know, you literally can invest in Facebook using Bamboo. You can invest in some companies that are outside Nigeria, you know, down New York Stock Exchange using the Bamboo app. I haven't tried Bamboo, but I know people who have. Essentially, all I'm sharing here is advisory. But of course, when it comes to the risks, your risk appetite will determine how much you invest, and it's really up to you. And I think I'll just pause now and yield the floor to greatness. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Have a lovely evening. So questions are welcomed. All right.
Okay, thank you, PL. Thank you so much. So I want to say thank you, everyone, for staying on the call. You know, I cannot interrupt PL because this is someone that I have been privileged. You know, we usually schedule our conversation like, when next are we going to talk? Because I don't take that time for granted. And I was sharing with him that I remember the day PL asked me to send my monthly budget to him. I told him I don't have, right? I just said, I don't have. And okay. So send me how you spend your salary. Then I wrote it out and I discovered that I was spending more than my salary. I was like, oh, this is why I am always broke. Then he shared some of the things he has shared with us today and even more with me. And sincerely, do you know that I've been living on less than half of my salary since then, and I'm not under pressure. I'm not borrowing. I have never told anybody. He's the only one I told. I told him, I said, you will not believe, just putting that structure and applying what you taught me, I've been living fine on less than half of my salary. I still give. All the people I give, every one of my standing orders still have what they usually have. I didn't cut down on what I usually give. But now there's more structure to my life that I'm like, oh, really? So I can do this. I can save. Hey, God. Please, I will beg you to apply what you've learned today. That would be my greatest joy. You heard when someone was talking and I was like, okay, most importantly, you being on the call, I'm grateful, but I will be glad to hear that this is what I've done with what I learned. And this is the transformation I've gotten. Thank you, PL. I do not take for granted the time you have invested into me. I do not take for granted the time you have invested here. I remember the first time we spoke and he told me about the setting, all the things you're like, wait, if someone wants to invite you to come and speak on a call for an hour, and he told me how much I was going to charge. I'm like, hey, I don't even have the mind to ask you to come and speak for me. I told him, but thank you for doing this for us. Thank you for the privilege. To be a protege under you. Thank you so much. So does anybody have any question? I know time is fast then, but I know you might have tried out some things or you add some things today and you're like, okay, I want clarification on this. I saw Salome. Salome had something that, yes, I was really curious about. Salome, are you still on the call? She had network glitches. I'm not sure she's still on the call. Okay, yeah. PL, please, can you talk about, okay, someone is raising a hand. Can you stop sharing so that we can see people's face? You can unmute yourself, Oluwatosin. Okay, can anybody hear me? I'm not getting response though.
I can hear you, greatness.
Okay, PL, are you still on the call?
Yes, please.
Okay, I was thinking you should stop sharing so that we can see people. Anyway, but if you want to leave it, I was just thinking so that we can see, yes, see the video. Tosin, I thought Tosin was talking.
Yeah, you were, so I had to wait.
Okay, sorry. Please go ahead.
Okay, so thank you so much, sir, for the privilege, for everything you said. Okay, so I would just like to be really clear about this whole simple interest concept. Yes, I know the calculation, I understand, but what I'm trying to say is, okay, with those kind of money, when you get, because I've actually seen a calculation where someone did that for like a longer year, then shorter year, and I was able to see that, okay, really, the time really matters, and then it gathers lot of interest, more money. But what if at instances you get to withdraw from the savings and then it's less? Are we going to start the cycle all over again? Because, or is it that we're supposed to, yeah, I know that there are times that we're supposed to apportion our savings, like contingency, this, that, so that we don't have to tamper with that. But what if you now have to tamper with that? Or do you understand my question, sir?
Yes, I do. I think if I understand you correctly, Tosi, what you're saying is there are instances that you probably find yourself trying to deal with emergencies or issues beyond your control. So because of the way life is designed, sometimes we truly come across that, those kind of experiences. So, in finance, usually financial experts will always advise or advocate that you have something called an emergency fund put aside. That's why, for example, I emphasize the need to have insurance. All right. For example, there's health insurance and there's life insurance. When it comes to vehicles, for example, most of us are used to third-party insurance, but that's not good, because if anything happens to your vehicle, the insurance company is not going to do anything. All right. So, but some people even take it a notch higher to insure everything in their house, to insure their chairs, their jewelries, and all. But if I want to narrow the question or my response to your question, when you spend as a result of contingency or emergency out of your savings, make a decision in your heart, on your mind, to replace that money you have spent, because each time you do, what you do is that you actually catch up with time. It's important that we understand the principle of time when it comes to money. Okay? Your real wealth is in your time. That's the truth. Your real wealth is in your time. And it's what you exchange with time that you will become in life. You know, so some of us don't understand that. So we don't place a lot of priority on time. Some of us waste time. Others spend time. Wise people invest time. Okay? It's difficult to stay, for example, around me and you waste your time. My kids know that already. Okay, so essentially my point is this, and that's the simplest answer to your question. If you have to face an emergency or you have to spend money on a critical issue, make a decision, of course, if it was from your savings, to replace that money. Okay, so if you were saving 10% regularly, and you now took out of your savings, you can do a calculation, for example. Like, okay, if I save 20%, I will be able to catch up, you know, with what I took out. Do you get? Some of us, we do that when it comes to, you know, debt. You know, for those of you who have borrowed money from the bank before, you know, the banks make it a lot easy today. If you earn a certain amount of salary, you don't even need to visit your bank. I've done that in the past. Yeah, I did it with my app. You know, my bank app. I just said, okay, I want to loan this amount of money. And I got credited. And they saw that, okay, yes, my money is stable. And they were debiting my account on a monthly basis. So it's the same thing. You just need that discipline to be able to ensure that you know, when it comes to, you know, recouping or catching up with time, you are able to do that effectively. Thank you, Tosi.
Thank you so much, sir.
You are most welcome.
Tosin, I guess your question was answered.
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay. Michael wanted to ask a question. You can go ahead, please.
Okay.
Michael, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. For me, I key towards investment, and I've always had issues like looking out for what to invest in. Like the screen you showed us, like that penny. There are some things you just advised us on that. So like for me now, my own is for investment now. Like I do more of stock, bond, and all those stuff. But I see that because of the situation of the economy, it's really it's not like what it used to be before. So I want you to shed more light on that. And then secondly, sorry, my question is in twofold. From all these things you said, you did not talk about, okay, what time do you create to try and spend on yourself or give yourself a treat? At least as after doing all those things, there should be a time, maybe in a year, just take yourself out and say, okay, well, I've done this. Let me enjoy myself for a weekend or a week or a day, so that you know that at least even though you've saved for a while, you can enjoy yourself. Not that you just keep saving, keep investing, and not having time for other things. Thank you. I hope you got my questions.
Very well, Michael. Thank you. I will respond to your second question first. So in terms of what time do I create to spend on myself? Okay, so I need to clarify that clearly. It begins with your plan and your budget. All right. Remember, I talked about the need for us to categorize our budget into two, mainly needs and wants. But under wants, it's nice to have. But under needs, you have two subheadings, which is what is critical and what is necessary. Your bills are critical. Your what is necessary, like for example, food is critical, water is critical, you can't survive without it. Shelter is critical. But when it comes to necessary, petrol for your generator is not as critical as food. You know, if you know what I'm saying, you know. So transport is also critical, because if you don't go out, you might not be able to generate revenue, or depending on, you know, what you do and if you're working from home. So it begins really with your plan, your financial plan. You know, for example, I talked about how I have been budgeting for like 18 years or 17 years. And one of the things I had set out to do before my wife and I got married, was that we outlined certain goals for our lives and our future. So we have a clear vision for our marriage, even for the kids. We have a clear plan, you know, and one of the things that we did was so that we are able to live a balanced life in the home was, and I'm being vulnerable with us now, is once in a month we hang out. My wife and I hang out. And we had that plan even before the kids showed up. So I can tell you, for example, that today is Saturday, right? This must have been on the 28th of October. That must have been 2 or 3 days ago. We hung out together. We both ate eba, all right, at an eatery. Now you can make eba at home. We both ate it, you know, we ate it. What soup did I even eat? I'm sure somebody is laughing there. I think I ate it with afang soup. Yes, I remember. And the meat was very sumptuous. For those of you who are foodies, I'm sure your mouth is probably salivating. But what I'm trying to say is, yes, what I'm trying to say essentially is that once you have it in your plan, you can now, you know, it helps you to strike a balance. All right. In fact, I think it's once a month for us, then twice a month for the kids and the family. But of course, you know that if you have a project that you're doing that is a financial base, that is going to take you a lot of money, then you know the areas where you need to cut cost. Okay, eating out, you need to cut it for a while. It's not going to be forever. Some of us, you probably are paying for mortgage. Or some of us, you know, you are paying for a land that you have not finished paying for. You are paying monthly. You will cut it for a while. By the time you have finished that project, you know that you can go back to your regular way of living. Then the first question you asked in terms of investments, if I'm not mistaken, you were talking about yourself investing in, you know, bonds and a few of those kind of platforms. One of the things I would just advocate and very carefully is this. Please, before you invest, research. For example, I had to school myself when it comes to understanding inflation. How does inflation rate work? If you do not understand inflation, whatever it is that you are saving will be, you know, literally useless. Or it will also determine, for example, the kind of investments you make. All right. So because, you know, it's essential. There are what you call market forces. They are not within your control. All right. And, you know, people who are in government, they understand these forces. They also can determine how it works. All right. If you recall, during the lockdown, during the last 6 months, our currency has been devalued twice, to the best of my knowledge. All right. And if you ask the CBN governor why it was devalued, he will give you his reasons. All right. But as a student of history, some persons have actually said that our problems in Nigeria started during Babangida's time, when we adopted something called the Structural Adjustment Program, called SAP. Okay, and where we had to devalue the naira. I think, what was it? If I don't remember the exact amount, but I had been in Nigeria. I was already born when you want to buy a Volkswagen, I think it was 5,000 naira or 3,000 naira. I still remember vividly, I used to buy a bottle of Coke for, is it 5 kobo or 10 kobo? You know, so in my secondary school, I remember when a bottle of Coke became 2.50 kobo, and I said I was not going to buy it again. You know, so I didn't know that, you know, I was just deceiving myself. Essentially, my point is, you know, we need to be able to do our research. Some of those investment portfolios I just mentioned or I showed us, if you invest small, you might not, and I'm not saying that you should invest majorly, okay? The people who have a lot of money, they are the ones that enjoy some of those investments, like fixed deposits, okay? Is a low risk investment, okay? But the percentage is very small. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, I think that since the beginning of this year, it literally came to 0%. In fact, you have money and nobody wants to collect your money. That's the best of my knowledge, you know, and I think I had an idea of which bank was doing the best when it comes to fixed deposits as at the beginning of the year. But now it's not the same, you know, and if you are able to find an investment that gives you as much as 5%, you know, depending on the time that you agree, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, whatever it is that you agree, 5% is something, you know, depending on how much it is you're investing. All right. And that's where the principle of compound interest comes to play. Okay. So you see that time is critical when it comes to your principal. If you invest 1 million naira over the space of 90 days, it's not the same return it will give you if you invest the same money, which is your principal, over a space of 60 days. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And you look at treasury bills, when you look at bonds, you know, you see the same thing. But right now, our economy has become more fragile. And this is not to say that you should run away to Canada, but it's just to simply say that there are investment opportunities out there that are not even within the shores of Nigeria that you can actually leverage and just ensure that you are able to generate some bit of revenue. Another place that I will encourage everyone to always try to invest in is real estate. But then do it with a lot of wisdom. It's just that in our climb, trust, we have what you call a trust deficit in Nigeria. In developed nations, trust is a social capital, all right? But in Nigeria, we have serious deficit when it comes to trust. So if somebody comes and tells you that they have one land in Ibejuleki and it costs 3 million naira, you're not even certain whether what the person is saying is true. You have to go and do your own finding at Alausa to be certain that what the person is saying is the real truth. I'm sure we all understand what I'm saying. I hope I was able to respond to your question appropriately, Michael.
Yes. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
So we have 2 questions in the chat. Pardon me. Mazidat, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Enri Osho, pardon me if I murdered your name. Kindly clarify the difference between profit and turnover. That's one. And why money should not be put in savings account. He answered these 2 questions in the presentation. I will suggest you watch the replay. However, Pierre, what do you say?
I think I can just respond directly and simply. All right. Masida, it's very simple. Your profit is your return on investment. All right. And your turnover is a cumulative sum of what you made from what you have invested, not what you profited. So what your turnover is it includes what is called a COP, or your cost of production. Every business, for example, has what you call a value chain. Your value chain is inclusive of your principal, your cost of production, and everything to the point where you have generated, revenue. Yes, operations, admin, and all that. That's your value chain. So at the end of the day, for example, if you invested 110,000 in a business, and and you made 150,000, usually some people will say I made 40,000 naira, profit, but it's not true. You have to have debited your cost of production. And if you do your maths well, you probably won't find out that your profit was probably 10,000 and you spent 30,000 on the production. So when you look at it and you see that you invested that 110,000 in a business that brought you 150,000 naira within a month, if you ask me as an advisor, is that a good deal? I will tell you no, because your time, you spent 1 month to make only 10,000 naira. That is a very bad business. Do you get what I'm saying? But there's a way you will look at it as well, because in this case, we're talking about time, and that is active income. I didn't even touch on a lot of things because of the brevity of time that we had. In finances, there's active and passive income. All right. So in the investment aspect is passive income. All right. So if you invest that 150,000 and you generate 10,000 in 1 month, what percentage of is that? So by the time you look at that analysis and you do your cost ratio analysis, especially when it comes to other rates, when it comes to return on investment, you are able to see whether you have a good deal or not. Okay, the second question you raised in terms of why money should not be put in savings account, because savings account is not going to yield you anything. So you are literally borrowing the bank your money and they're using it to trade. All right, so it's always better to put your money in what you call at least safer, what you call low risk investment portfolios. And there are many of them out there. All right, PiggyVest is one of them. I don't know them, but I know, for example, in fact, I was telling my daughter to go and study that because I want to teach her that culture of investing. Some people invest 20K. You can try 10,000, 20,000 and see what will yield you. I know a bank, for example, that is not even a Nigerian bank, but when you have money in that account for a long time, the money they will give you in their savings, it's not the same thing they will give you in a Nigerian bank in Nigeria. And they are in Nigeria, but many people don't know that. So that same bank, for example, if you use your ATM anywhere in Nigeria, they don't, depending on whether you're using it with any other bank's ATM, they don't charge you. So if you understand how money works, you will cut down on all those costs. For example, if a bank charges me consistently, there's a bank that I have that the charges were so high, I stopped using them. I don't know if I'm communicating, because by the time you curate it in a year, you will see that you are really giving them money, a lot of money before the end of the year. Okay, I hope that responds to your question. I hope I was able to respond. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so there's a question that I personally am very interested in, because I remember it was one of the things. What is the name of this special bank? That's okay, Pio.
Sure,
let's attend to.
Go on, Greatness.
Let's attend to this question, because it was one of the issues that I had, before I had to outgrow it, to say that, see, I am not the father of my family. The man of the house is the father of the family. And I had to deliver myself from this burden. But then I want us to hear from PL. So this question, I really love it, because I noticed someone called it black tax. Nigerians, Africans, there's this thing that they used to say that, oh, I sent you to school and you must, take care of me. All those things that our parents used to do, right? Can anyone still hear me?
Very clearly.
Okay, so the person said, I spend more of my salary, he or she is earning less than 100K. And thank you for the response. And he or she is saying that I spend more of my salary on transportation and 3 dependents, like family members. So hardly enough for myself. How do I handle that? So PL, over to you. Me, I've delivered myself.
Okay.
Conscience
All right.
again.
Okay. So if I understood your question directly or clearly, greatness, what you have just shared is the challenge that most of us face when it comes to managing our immediate family members, especially when they think that you are earning a lot and they don't know how much you are earning and the expectations are high. All right.
Yes.
All right. So let me just be very clear, and I will try my best to be practical. All right. So the truth is that I've been married for a few years, and I can tell you that in every marriage, politics happens.
A few years. Theo, did you just say that?
All right.
You
know,
it's not a few years.
All right. So essentially, in every marriage, politics happen. If I learn from my mentor that where two or three are gathered, there is politics in the midst of them. All right. So essentially, my point is simple. There is a need for you and I to constantly manage ourselves when it comes to family members. Okay. When I say managing yourself, I'm not saying that if you have, you shouldn't give. No, I'm saying that don't create an impression that will now increase the pressure from family members on you financially. Because some of us actually like to look good. We're constantly buying new jewelries. Constantly, they'll see you bought a car. Meanwhile, you probably took it on loan. So then, before you know what's happening, because you can't tell them how much you're earning. And, within certain families, there's what you call competition. So one brother is competing with one sister, tomorrow I bought this for mommy. This one will say, I bought this for daddy. And it's funny how some families operate. The truth about it is that you have to be able to manage all that, and so that the pressure does not increase. I know a particular family, for example, years ago, this was about close to 19 years ago, 20 years ago. In fact, that lady gave me an advice and she didn't know she was giving me an advice. She said, so she had been married for a few years then, and she made a statement when it came to handling both her husband's parents and her own parents, that each time somebody when her mother or her husband's mother wants to come over to their house, not that they stop them, but what they do is, before they show up, they send money to them. So what do you need at home? They will send money. Because, the moment they show up at home, they will see that you have bought one new TV, or they say, so this is the life that you are living. And you are not even sending money to us. But in the case when you have that kind of situation, you can be very certain that you are in for a quarrel after they have left the house. Okay? Because they're going to, your matter will become a subject of discussion for another 1 month. You have to quench some fires. But, essentially my point is that there's a lot of tact that needs to be done there and wisdom. Okay? But one thing I hold dearly as a principle is, if I have a standard rule for taking care of my parents, and I try to do it to the best of my capacity. I don't do beyond what I cannot do. I don't know if it makes sense to you. Yes.
Yeah, so, it makes a lot of sense.
And my conscience becomes my compass in that aspect. Not the pressure from family members, but absolutely. My conscience. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. So please set a budget for everything, including mommy and daddy, siblings, cousins, nephews. It was very funny after I wrote my book, and I'm not saying this to spite anyone. If you are listening to this recording and you have asked me to borrow you money or give you money, I'm not saying it directly to you. I guess, I don't know, maybe because people just felt I've written a book. I've not even sold all 50 copies of the book. Like as I did, I've not even sold 20 copies of the book. And people just say calling me, borrow me 50,000. Can I get 5,000? Can I get 16,000? And I was asking, I said, I don't even have 5K in my own account. And then, but you're selling book. I said, oh, really? So really, I think we all too, I've reduced what I post on my social media now because I don't want trouble. People should not start assuming I have money. And to just take the learning from that, don't receive any pressure. Trust me, they will. It's not all gifts they offer you that you collect now. Thank you so much, PL, for that very insightful. Oops. What was the last thing you heard me say, please? I just saw that I was disconnected. Okay.
Thank you, PL, for that insightful.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I'm assuming there are no more questions, and just quick announcement. Next week is the role of parenting in wealth creation, and our speaker, let me just share the graphics alone. That will just be all for tonight. I can no longer read anything. I can no longer go through any announcements or anything. Is Dikana Okafor. He is this man. Oh God. So let me tell you just very brief about him. His father owns the organization. He is the Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. So his father owns the company he currently works as an executive director. And yet he's so humble that when someone told me, he wasn't the one that told me, when someone told me that his father owns the organization, I was shocked because he responds promptly to mails, he is diligent with training, he was our client, he is our client, right? And I just like his heart, and he's extremely humble. See, this is someone that, I mean, yeah, when he was telling me the countries he has not been to, I was like, Jesus, and you're this humble. I'm grateful to God that I'm connected to great people. Sincerely, it's a grace that I don't take for granted. Mr. Dikana Okafro is going to be talking on the role of good parenting in wealth creation next week. And please, I need to emphasize that next week's session is 12 p.m. He has a function to attend, so we have to shift the time. I really, I know that he has people that are even really looking forward to the session already. So I want to beg you to tell people to join in early. Trust me, I'm telling you this thing for free. And it's not because I know what I'm saying. So it's going to be 12 p.m. next Saturday, the 7th of November. I want to learn from him how his parents influenced him, how his parents has taught him to build wealth. He sponsored 20 copies of my book. If you saw when I was asking everyone to appreciate him, and yet he's extremely quiet. He told me not to mention his name, and I told him that, sorry, you did something great, and we have to say thank you, sir. So yeah, I want you to come and learn from Mr. Dikana Okafor, and that will be all for tonight. We cannot take our affirmations because of time. I just want you to go and digest all that you have learned and apply it. And this will just be all. I want you to, where's the affirmation questions? So I want you to tell me before you leave the chat, the call, what will you start doing differently from the session? What were your takeouts from today's session, and what will you start doing differently? Salome, can we start from you? Budgeting, fantastic. Can you expatiate further on that? Because if it's not specific, you know, I'm a trained coach now. So if it's not specific, if it's not measurable, if it's not accurate, if it's not realistic, if it's not time bound, it's not a goal. It's just a wish. So can you tell me more on that budgeting? What will you start doing differently?
Okay, so
go ahead.
all right, like what our trainer today told us, I used to have a budget before. Like I write out before my money comes, I already write out specifically what I need to, do, the percentage that go for different things. But at a point, I just got fed up because hey, I don't stick to it. A lot of other things comes in, and before you know what is happening, I even shortchange myself. So I just got tired of the whole thing. If I buy 100 naira data, I will write it down. If I used to track it, but later on, yes, I just got overwhelmed with different things coming up here and there, and I just stop. I'm like, what's even the point of all these things? At the end of the day, you don't even have anything to save. Okay, so but now that he said it, he said the wealthy ones, they budget, they track,
Absolutely.
they monitor how it comes. So I think I'll go back to it. Those things I used to do before, it's not so new to me, but I got fed up. But having heard that today, I would go back to it, budget, certain percentages to the things that are basic, the basic things, and then we can always have our wants later on. That's the delayed gratifications. So
Fantastic.
That's it.
Awesome. Thank you. So when are you starting? What time? When are you starting?
Today is 31st. Tomorrow is 1st. I'm starting right away.
And happy new month in advance to everyone. So
yes,
Chioma Chizoba, I was actually going to call your name next. I like your energy. I like the fact that you've been active from the beginning of the session till now. So Chioma Chizoba said, I'll stick to my budgeting and go learn how to draw a financial plan. Fantastic. Emmanuel Okafor, do you want to share? What would you start doing differently? Are you with us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Please, yes, we can hear you, sir. Go
Oh,
ahead.
thank you very much. I appreciate you and the co-host and for the program. I just joined a few minutes ago, so I didn't get much of the. So I hope that next time I will try to join early. I just joined a few minutes towards the end of the program. The little things I have concerning the family, how to handle family issue, I think I will start implementing that.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. It's a key point there. I think I grabbed a new idea from the what the host said. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Great, fantastic. I saw you join during the question and answer session. You can also use the chat box. Please, before you leave, I want to know your takeout. Madam Marianne, please, over next to you, let's hear from you. What would you start doing differently? I saw a message in the chat box. Mazidat says, I've learned to be disciplined in my finance and turning a new leaf from tomorrow. I like that. God's willing. Fantastic. Great. Onyeka, where are you? I know she's at work. Onyeka, are you still with us?
I'm home now.
Okay, yeah, please share. Go ahead.
Because the financial goal, I have to really be, I think the basic thing here is discipline. Just like Sally talked about, because at some point I was doing like tracking everything. But I think the moment you lose guard in tracking, I think you become worse than you were.
Yeah.
So it's like starting afresh, like rebuilding all the walls that are broken. So I have to start from like taking stock taking stock of. I have to let me stay it, like let me stay at the reality of what has gone wrong. I have to start afresh. Where did I get it wrong? What have I lost? My plans on how to rebuild it. How do I know that I'm rebuilding it? Do you understand? So it's not just about just doing carelessly. I have to be very intentional about everything I do, intentional about investing, about saving. Do you understand? Not just when Pierre was talking about some people after the whole saving and all that, and then at the end of the day, after they've stressed themselves, like at the end of the day, you get the bulk money and you can't even say what you did with it.
Yeah.
So, said this class, when I said at the beginning that this is like therapy and like healing, because I am financial wound. When I mean wound, I don't not just wound, I say financial wounds. There's anything like that. So really, all those wounds, they are healing. Like I am going not just by talking, like I'm going to be healed from things I did to myself. So that's just it. So I learned a lot really. And I will share my testimony. I will share my testimony. Praise God.
Great. She said, praise God. Hallelujah. Okay. Madam Marianne says, hi, greatness. Thanks to the speaker. I'm doing some of what I heard, but I'll do more of goal setting and looking for more investment opportunities. I've also learned that insurance is important. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for that feedback. Michael Pobeni, do you mind sharing with us?
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Michael.
Okay, I think for me it's a new beginning. Some of these things I used to hear it, but sometimes it's just like all these things are motivational speaking, Jerry. So, but now the reality is dawned on me now that it's not motivational speaking. You just have to what you don't know, you don't know. Now I've been exposed to something I knew already, but I didn't pay attention to it, because one thing is you getting the information and applying it in your day-to-day life activities. So for me, it's an eye-opener. It's just a matter of sitting down and then trying to draw a map and follow that map. Follow that map to the latter, and then the most important thing is discipline, because sometimes you start something and if you don't continue, just along the line, you just fade away. So discipline is also very, very key. I learned that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Moyolua. So who else has not spoken? Temitope Ojo, please can you share? What would you start doing differently?
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
I want to appreciate the speaker, PL, and thank you for so much for all that you've invested in us. And I didn't even realize that I'd started practicing, a lot of the things that you had brought forth today, and I just really want to thank you. For me, one major takeaway to build financial literacy, because I have a similar story to what he said initially. I've had wasted years, and I've had to practice almost every principle he talked about. I've had to, spend less than I actually earn to cover up some debts that I got into. But I think I also need to build a lot of financial literacy so that I can be better. And I have jotted some books he mentioned in the course of the training, and I'll get to them in the month of November. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Who else has not spoken? Who else? Joel Oyeni, please. I would appreciate if you can share this in the feedback form. I'm trying to get the link to the feedback form. And if you also want to support, you know, when they say something is free, I used to say that someone paid for it. And please, we need support. I was going to share briefly as at October 19 and sorry, 16. I realized that I've spent over 90,000 on this, you know, workshop. That is free does not mean there's no cost attached to it. Of course, there's cost. We are paying Zoom monthly. So if you want to say greatness, don't worry, I'll start paying for Zoom going forward. Thank you. We'll say thank you very much. Also, cost of graphic production, all the graphics, and you know, too many things. So please, you can see a bit that I just shared. We did sponsored adverts. I'm really wondering what happened, because the reach, Facebook was telling me we're able to reach over 7,000 people. So really, I was even hoping that, oh, today we're going to have about 100 people, but then I don't know what happened. So if you can also give us ideas on how to increase attendance, I really appreciate that. Also, you know, partnership is not just financially. It can also be your skill. Maybe you are saying, okay, I'm going to create a website for you. I'm going to, anything you can do to actually help us, you know, make this better. Thank you so much. Please fill the feedback form. I just dropped the link in the chat box. Also, I want to share that if you know anyone that needs support with their mental health, maybe they are feeling traumatized, sad, angry, anxious, or depressed, I am a professional neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, and as well as an emotional freedom technique practitioner, and I work with a coaching school currently. So it's be great to work with them. And I'm doing free sessions for now, you know, just to support everyone. Also, please, my book is still available for sale. And if you have a group of people that you want me to review the book with, I'm very open, you know, to such opportunity. Thank you, everyone, for staying till the end. Monyolua has not spoken. I think she's busy. Okay, yes. So thank you, everyone. I just dropped the feedback form link, you know, in the chat box, and also so the way the Paystack link was, you just enter any amount you want. It's not restricted with any, there's no restriction. Just enter any amount you can support us with. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Looking forward to seeing you 12 p.m. next week, Saturday, 12 p.m. on the role of good parenting in wealth creation. If you know people that want to be parents or people that are parents already, please let them know. And want to say, I'm very certain that it will be worth their time. Thank you all.